What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Real Fans FC. Listen, smash that effing like button. Smash all those buttons on there, guys. Listen, we are more than happy to have all of y'all on this pod. This is a big episode. Julian, this is not just another friendly recap. This isn't just some random video, whatever. This is the November 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers for Concacaf round three. Incredible, huge results. I really can't stress enough how big this was. Dude, this was incredible. It was beautiful. It was dramatic. It was intense. And for a lot of people, it was heartbreaking. Even for myself, obviously, I'm super thankful my team was able to qualify. But seeing other teams, that came so close yet so far, just at the end. So, but yeah, very awesome, dude. Listen, little format. I want to get into it, man. I don't know if you're good with this, but we'll go team by team, group by group.
Yep.
We'll
Yeah.
just break it down, man, and kind of give our little recap. But Group A, started off, man. Listen, I'll be respectful and I'll be a gentleman and I'll go after you.
Okay.
Let's start off with the group leaders, man. Panama going to the World Cup. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, yeah, this is your second rodeo to the World Cup now. You get the first ones, get those jitters out of the way in 2018. We'll talk more about the performances as we lead into the World Cup and stuff later in another video. So I don't want to dive too deep into that now. But I will say overall, clearly a very successful window for Panama. They did what they needed to do. There was a 6 point window. They got the wins that they needed with a little bit of fortunate result that went their way for Guatemala versus Suriname, because Suriname having that big advantage in the first game, obviously blundering it, but we'll talk about that later. It was super big, and they just focused on what they needed to do, which is just play the games in front of you and let the chips fall where they may, which is focus on getting the win in Guatemala and winning at home and closing it out. And that's what they did. I mean, I can't lie. Obviously, September and the October window weren't the best. It didn't go their. I don't even want to say it didn't go their way, because I think a lot of it was their own doing. But they were able to redeem themselves in this November window and get the results. Honestly, the results you expected them to get back in September and October, and they did it this time around. So congratulations. Welcome back to the World Cup, Panama.
Mm. Joy, happiness, excitement, tears, lots of tears, and just that feeling of gratitude. Like you kind of said earlier, dude. Obviously, welcome back to the second rodeo for us. It was such a feeling, and I'll be quite real with you, dude. It felt like a feeling of peace for me a little bit to be able to see the guys were back into it. Obviously this was huge. Julian, not only the team had this expectation to qualify and it was already there, but there was pressure. There was so much pressure, and not just from the outside, from the inside as well. So many people saying, this is already over. This campaign is done. We lost, back when we tied to Guatemala back home in September. So there was just so much pressure, and people were doubting and saying, are Panama even good? Are they fraudulent? Is Coco Carrasquilla not even that good of a midfielder? And is El Salvador better than these guys? And it just seemed like a lot of pressure was mounting on these guys. And back, not to throw back to October, but it seemed like back in October, maybe those issues would get fixed. But kind of like you stated, it almost seemed like it got worse. And it just seemed, to really be building up in this October window. But like I said, dude, obviously I could go on forever. We could make a 13-hour podcast about this, but I'm going to just wrap it up into 13 seconds and just say, listen, I'm proud of the boys. Like you said, at the end of the day, they got the job done. And that's the most important thing. I will say now, leading up into this World Cup, I think this is a team that can make a little bit of noise. I don't think my boys, kind of like you were stating in that first show, it was kind of just a 2018 gratitude. We were thankful to be there, and so blessed that Trinidad beat the United States to give us that chance to go to the World Cup. Now we're kind of in that spot where it's like, listen, dude, we earned our spot there. We won our last two games, our last two road games. We went on the road at El Salvador, beat Guatemala as well on the road in a hostile, very hostile environment. So I don't think anything these guys are going to shy away from. I think they have a big game up ahead of them. And I think, like you said, they have a lot of big friendlies and a lot of big preparation to come upcoming for them going in, rolling into that 2026 World Cup. But yeah, proud of the guys. And I'll end it there. Cecilia Waterman, listen, dude, I love you, man. I love you. I love you so much. You are a thing of beauty. Jose Fajardo,
It's
You as
Will's
well, man.
toxic
I have my
relationship.
moments. Oh, dude, this is like this is my toxic relationship with that girl that cheated on me all throughout my life, and yet I still love her.
But he
I
had to
still
keep on
do, man.
going back.
It's one of those. I had to keep
And
going
we
back,
all know
man.
why.
It was so good. We all
we all.
we all know why. We all know why. But Fajardo, listen, I could go on about all the names, but I'm so proud of the team. I'm so proud of everybody, the coaching staff, the fans, everybody. It was truly incredible. And yeah, we just got to keep riding the wave, man. I'm proud of these guys. They earned everything. So, but let's go Suriname, second place team, Intercontinental. Julian, what are your thoughts?
I will say, I believe if you told me going into the November window this would happen, I think this is a big win for Suriname to advance and to continue and keep a lot, stay alive. But after seeing that first game and the utter domination that they put on El Salvador at home, I can't help but feel absolutely disappointed in the way they handled that Guatemala game. They just got absolutely steamrolled. They got destroyed in that game. Honestly, they're even lucky to make it to the Intercontinental round because it took a late goal in the 92nd minute that it was an own goal, right? I want to believe.
It was.
Yeah, it was an own
Samayoa.
goal. And the fact that the Costa Rica and Honduras game ended up in a draw because all it took was for one of those teams to score one goal and Suriname would have been out. They almost all that work they
Yeah.
did in that first game to get that insane advantage and have everything in the fate of their own hands to just give it away to a team that was already eliminated is just, to me, just utter
Yeah.
disappointment. I'm sure if you're a Surinamese fan, you can't help but feel disappointed that you didn't get in because you're looking at this intercontinental playoff and it's going to be a tough uphill battle. We're going to talk about that in another video coming up soon. But
Yep.
it's kind of a mixed bag for me when it comes to Suriname. I think, like I said, you told me going into this that they make the Intercontinental. That's great. You know, a team that never even made it this far, let alone make it to an Intercontinental, is a big achievement. But the fact that you had it in your hands and you let it go is tough. It's tough. And don't get me wrong, not playing Guatemala is not an easy thing, but it's like you think after the performance that you had at home that you would be able to at least get a 1-0 victory, but it kind of shows that the Surinamese defense is just very poor, and it also doesn't help that they're missing their starting goalkeeper in the back of the net, which affected them a lot this game. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel
Yeah.
about Suriname this window.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you a little bit of an analogy real quick, and we'll keep rolling on Suriname. Suriname kind of reminds me a little bit of that like kid that's 6'5", he's pretty tall. He looks like an athlete, he's got a big build to him, and this guy walks inside the classroom and everybody's like, he's going to be the next starting center for our high school varsity team, and he's going to be a beast. But the kid's never played a sport in his life. He's just not exactly necessarily there. It was like a project from the start. And you kind of said earlier, Joy, with all respect to Suriname, this is a project that's going to get better. They're going to improve. And obviously, like you said earlier, dude, we have so much CONCACAF content. Smash subscribe, kill that like button, and put your notifications on for our videos, guys, because we have tons of good stuff coming out. But yeah, I agree in the aspect that Suriname, if you look back in the past, just a couple months ago, if you would have told them you're going to get second place and you're going to qualify for the Intercontinental, I think any Surinamese would have grabbed a pen, signed the check, delivered the paper, good to go. Let's roll. Let's get out of here. I think they would have been happy with that. Like you said, obviously, kind of going into this last November, and that's what the whole video is about, recovering this recap November window. I think Surinamese are feeling grateful. I would, because Nicolas Samayoa, off the tip of his head, saved you guys with that own goal. Because, like you said, dude, if it wasn't for that, Honduras is going in there. So I think it should be one of those. It should be kind of one of those moments, like you said. It's going to be tough, but they need to be able to recover and say, you know what, we got to move on from here. They have shooters. They have guys that can score goals. This is not a team that's lackluster within scoring goals. But like you said, the defense is where the problems really, really arise. You don't see guys like a Juanita and a Dion Malone, or even like a Hops. You need these guys to step up in your back line. Obviously not having Vossen as well in that last game, I think really did kill him a little bit with 1 or 2 goals. But still, at the end of the day, you need your defense to step up. So, but yeah, I agree. Tough one for Suriname, but still, at least they got Intercontinental, and that's good ups for them, dude, and massive respect to them. But let's move on to Guatemala, Los Guate Boys, Los Chapines. Julian, what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, disappointing window. They didn't advance. They had an opportunity coming in. If they could have got the 6 points, they would have really been in contention. Obviously, they could have even potentially knocked out Panama in that sense, but they weren't the same team that they were against Suriname. It almost makes you wonder what that game would have looked like if they would have played to that same level. It would have been super competitive, but nonetheless, they did fight tooth and nail against you guys. Obviously, it went 2-2 at one point. It just ended up, I think when you look at a team like Guatemala, I think they just don't have enough. There's just not enough there. I think there's a lot of heart there, and they have decent talent, and this is the most competitive Guatemala team I can think of in recent history. Obviously, they've had better teams in the past, but I think this team got maxed out. I think this was the best you're going to see with this current squad of Guatemalans. I just don't know if you're going to get any more. I think they squeezed all the juice out of that lemon. We saw it in the Gold Cup and we saw it in this, and I think they just weren't enough to take down Panama. I think Panama just had a little too much talent and was able to dictate the game a little too much more, and was just physically just a lot stronger and bigger and faster of a team. But I think they ended off on a great high note. I mean, to absolutely beat the brakes off Suriname. Obviously, they didn't knock them out of the competition. They probably should have if Costa Rica Honduras did something in that game, which we'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, I think disappointing. You got to wait another 4 years, but they didn't. They went off on a high note. They didn't get embarrassed, and they competed every step along the way, and that's how I think of Guatemala this November window.
Yeah, I'll be real, dude. Hold your heads up high, Guatemalans. Listen, this is a team that, like you said, once these guys, and I'm going to be quite real, Julian, once some of these players start getting out there a little bit more out of the domestic league within Guatemala and they start going a little bit more international, this is not going to be a team to sleep on. Then at the helm, they're very, very fundamentally built. And I will even say
a lot
that
more technical than I would have thought leading into Gold Cup.
I will say, watching that game, we were very much in the aspect of, oh, this is a team that they're off the power of friendship, and the guys all love each other and they all hang out with one another, and it's this buddy, SpongeBob and Patrick and all the guys, the crew's hanging out. It's a lot more than that. This is a group of guys that they know the job, and they're walking into the office with their brief, their suitcase. They got the jacket on, briefcase on the right hand, and they're ready to roll. So you can tell a lot of the players on that field know their job and know what they got to get done. So props to them. And it's so weird, dude. I was thinking about this, like, even right now, whenever you were talking about it, it felt weird in one aspect. I'm, all against these guys. I'm rooting against them. I want them to lose. Obviously, my boys are against them. And then in the next game, I'm like, I love you, Guatemala. I want you to score these goals. So it's such a different dynamic of flow of emotions in that aspect. But yeah, I have to say, though, genuinely kind of taking my lens off of it, taking off my Panamanian cap and looking at them. Guatemala did have a solid November. Obviously, they're going to feel heartbroken, but they put up a scrappy fight, man. Listen, those boys came out there and they fought. So I'll give them credit on that. But yeah, let's move on, though, real quick, dude. Not much to say. El Salvador, arguably, I mean, dude, I would have said they were not maybe like the third or fourth worst team here. They're the second worst, dude. I think Nicaragua, we'll get to them later, did better. I think El Salvador got a fluky win back in September. And I think after that, they just kind of ride that wave of, we got the win. And then at home, dropped three stinkers. I mean, complete bombed shells of games, didn't do anything, lost all three at home. And then you go on the road. And I mean, dude, Belio Gomez, I mean, brother, it's going to take. I don't even think Pep Guardiola could fix his team up. They are they're all over the field. This is a big project, man. Listen, I talked about Suriname being kind of like that 6'5" kid in your class. El Salvador is kind of like that geeky 4'11", midget that's never even touched the football field in his life. This is that kid that I don't think he's ever sniffed a sport. So it's kind of like, you need a lot. You really need a lot of work with this team. all domestic players other than Nathan Ordaz and Brian Heel, and that's it.
And Nathan Ordaz is a dual nat, so it's one of those. I believe he's a dual nat. Am I crazy? I
Technically, yeah. And Brian Hill. I mean, Brian Hill's also a dual nat as well.
So yeah, not even a domestically developed player. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not much to say about El Salvador. This is the El Salvador you kind of expected in this World Cup qualifying. They competed a little bit more than I would have thought in the grand scheme of the entire qualifying. But yeah, this, I mean, going 0-7 in a November window it's terrible. They got demolished. They didn't look good. It honestly, like, Nathan Ordaz was the only one that looked like he had any sort of inkling of talent. This is just a team that just fundamentally just needs to be restructured from the ground up. They need to get Bukele on there, clean it up, make that team better like he did the country. Let him be the president of the federation. How about that? He'll wear two president hats.
Let him cook. Yep.
But yeah, this is just I think there's a lot more deeper things going on with this El Salvador team that I think systemically this team is just going to have issues until they're able to clean things up from a federational level and become competitive once again, because El Salvador just hasn't been competitive in forever, and it's gotten worse. I think even last World Cup cycle they looked better than they did this one. They've just gotten progressively worse and worse, and I think it's time to hit reset and figure something out, like I said, from a grassroots level. But we will move on to Group B, and we'll start off with the Group B winners. My prediction, I said it from the jump, this November window, I tell you what, bro, my ball knowledge for Curacao has been unmatched. I said they were going to upset Jamaica in October, and then they came and they upset them again. I guess if you want to call 0-0 an upset. I mean, I guess technically Jamaica is the more talented team. My boys from the ABC Islands and the sea, more specifically, they got it done. The Pacuna, bro, everybody. They amazing performance this window. I thought going and playing in Kingston in a packed out stadium. That's the most packed I've seen that Jamaica stadium in quite a long time. And they got it done. They did what they needed to do. They were holding on for dear life. And yeah, man, what an impressive window. They took care of business over against Bermuda. Awesome window for Curacao. They took advantage of the opportunity. Fate in their own hands. They are now going to be the smallest country to ever qualify for the World Cup. 150,000 people.
I know. That's crazy.
Just to think, that's a suburb in a lot of cities. That's the size of my town that I live in. So it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
Awesome story for Curacao. Like, a lot of people didn't have them going. The moment I saw that game against Canada in the Gold Cup, I was like, this team has something special. They have the ability to be really dangerous, and Jamaica has to be careful. And sure enough, they were able to get the job done. Awesome, perfect window. I mean, not perfect. You could say that they should have won, or not should have won, but like to get a perfect window, you get the 6 points. But they got the results they needed. Obviously enough to advance and make it to the World Cup. They got the job done. Congratulations, Curacao. Welcome to your first World Cup.
Yeah. Everybody knows the Passport Bros, Big Online, whatever. Welcome to the world, the Pacuna Bros. These guys showed up, showed out, dominance, dude. I think that was incredible, like you said. Obviously, also no Tahit Chong. That I mean, that was impressive, dude. Not to be able to do that, and obviously still looked offensively aggressive. A Curacao team that didn't ever look phased really much in that Jamaica game. Like you said, dude, they went on the road and, I mean, smothered Bermuda incredibly. They got the biggest win out of all the teams in the group over the Bermudans. So, I mean, massive shout out to them. That was big for them. They needed that goal differential. And they went in there and they took care of business, like you said, Julian. They went into a packed house in Kingston when they knew the entire stadium was against them and was rooting against them. And they were able to handle their business like professional athletes. And I think, like you said, you got to commend Curacao for that. I think this was an incredible overall campaign. Like you said, their backs were against them. and they were chasing a target. Instead of being that team that had the target on their back, they were trying to chase the Jamaicans. And I think they were able, I'm obviously not think I know, they were able to catch up to them, and they were able to get their target. And now they're going to a World Cup. Like you said, it's exciting times for them. And congrats to Curacao. I think big guys, big names ahead of them. Really got to shout out Eloy Room, man. Listen, I'm a guy.
Dude's
I'll
a
end it real quick
monster. I love that guy.
Dude, and so many times it feels like so many people in CONCACAF forget about him, but the guy's a beast, man. The guy's an absolute beast. Shout out Eloy Room, and shout out all Curaçaoians, man. If you're in the comments, listen, drop your flag, drop some love, man. Because
Curaçaoans.
Curaçaoans. Let us know how it is. What is your guys' pronunciation?
So somebody, speaking of that, somebody got you in the comments saying Honduranians, which I didn't notice.
Saw that.
It's Hondurans.
I saw that. Yeah.
Well, Will needs to work on his English language. It's okay. He's still working on it. He's got it. He's one day.
I'm still on my Duolingo. I'm still trying to learn, guys. Don't hate on me.
Let's move on to the next team. We got Jamaica. I'll kick it off here first, man. I know there's a lot of Jamaicans, you guys in the comments. I know you guys are already typing. Look, man, I had a bad feeling that something bad was going to happen to you guys in this World Cup qualifying. Obviously, a disastrous Gold Cup getting grouped, and then this one not winning the group in a group that you should win. I mean, look, we're talking all about Curacao and the streak that they were on, and they were just riding high. But at the end of the day, you guys have infinitely more talent than they do. There's just no excuse. It's still the same old Jamaica, the constant underperforming and not stepping up to the moment. You get the draw against Trinidad, which, look, Trinidad's a hard place to play at home, but this is not a dangerous Trinidad team. And we've talked about Trinidad before, and we're going to go on with them again here in a second. But, like, you get the draw there, and then you get the draw at home in a packed house in a must-win game against a team that you are better than and you should dominate against, and you're not able to get it done. And this is also coming off a great performance by Andre Blank, who honestly saved you guys in a lot of ways. Like, a game could have been worse. You could have lost. And luckily, I think the one saving grace for Jamaica this tournament was that they had a team like Bermuda in their group that pretty much guaranteed anybody who was second in Group B was going to get that intercontinental spot. If you put Jamaica in these other groups, I don't know if they make it even to an intercontinental spot. And I don't know, man. They got a tough road ahead of them in this intercontinental playoff. It's not going to be easy. I think they should easily get their first game. Luckily, they got the Oceania draw over the Bolivia draw, so that's one thing that's going in their favor. But they're going to have to potentially go up against the DR Congo next. But let's not get twisted. No, wait, New Zealand got a direct bid. Never mind. It's going to be New Caledonia. So yeah, that's going to be like a layup. That's going to be like a layup game for them. So you got a tough matchup.
Well, here's the thing, though. It should have been a layup in Group B to qualify for the World Cup. Listen, and I don't want to take anything away from Curacao, Trinidad, and Bermuda, like you said. Massive shout out. We already gave the flowers to Curacao, but now you gotta be realistic with Jamaica. This has to be a disappointment. This is a huge disappointment, dude.
2 points.
You had it literally. You had it right there in your hands, in the palm of your hands, to be able to just qualify to the World Cup, win one goal, and you're in. And it just seemed like you said, they just seemed so flat-footed, so just not in tune to the game,
unclinical,
and wanting to play, unclinical, uncoordinated. Just very lackluster over the field. This is a team, like you said, dude, earlier. They don't show up for the moments. And when I say by the moments, I don't mean the pressure's on them, but more or less they're just expected to win. Or, it's Jamaica. They have the talent. They have the team. They have, the years of experience, when you would think they should be able to just cakewalk this. And then they do something like this. And I mean, dude, I really genuinely, I try to root for this team, Julian. I really do. Listen, all Jamaicans, I mean, you even said it earlier, man. You guys are probably typing away, this kid with glasses has no ball knowledge. The dude in the hat's an idiot, and all this other.
But it's the same story. It's the same story. It rewrites itself over and over
every
and over
single time. and it's disappointing. And I'll leave it there. That's all I gotta say. Like you said, Jamaicans, you guys are basically. I'll throw New Caledonia in there. You should win that game. If you lose that
Yeah,
game,
that's
Jamaica
like Bermuda level.
Concacaf.
It's honestly
Yeah.
New Caledonia versus Bermuda be one hell of a matchup. I'll pay to watch.
Yeah. But that's the thing, Jamaicans, you're one game away. You're one game away. Now that one game is against arguably one of the better teams right now in Africa. So GG's to you. Obviously, it's going to be a tough one, but yeah, we'll see. Trinidad, I don't have much to say, Julian. I'll be honest, dude. Disappointing in the sense of they couldn't win, but it also seemed like a team that genuinely that was the most they could get. That first half, dude. I mean, you shouted him out earlier, Andre Blake. Massive, massive, massive ups to him. Trinidadians, you could tell they were frustrated. They were just trying and trying over. Just kind of fell short. I think that last game they kind of just didn't care. It was a pancake game. It was a whatever game. I think they were just kind of having fun on the pitch. I will say though, Levi Garcia's really got to be licking his chops, man. This is a guy that you come into it and everybody's. I mean, and by a fine margin. This guy's the best player on the field for whenever he steps foot on that national team, and it's not even close. So it's disappointing to not see him have that much of an impact, like a Tyrese Spicer, or you even look at guys like a Noah Powder, other guys on that field. So I think Levi's got to be a little bit disappointed in that aspect. We'll see though, but yeah, Trinidad overall, if
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, I think it. I'm gonna go as far to say that it was a decent window. I mean, I think they were the better team against Jamaica, obviously at home. Like they needed that win if they wanted to stay alive. They needed it. They needed the 6-point window. They couldn't get it done. But I do want to say it's decent just by the simple fact that they went out there and gave it all they could in this final window, and they didn't fall flat on their feet like we were talking about, like with Jamaica, who absolutely did. I think, like I said, Trinidad was the better team in that game. They couldn't get another one in the back of the net. If they could have, we would be talking about who knows? I don't know if Suriname makes it. I don't think Suriname would make it if they get that final win, because then you have the layup against Bermuda. So I think it was a little too late, and it's kind of like what I was saying in our November preview. I think Trinidad's just kind of showing up too late. They needed to get a result against Jamaica. I think they got if they would have got a draw that first game, we might be talking about a different story here. But they just couldn't get it done when they needed to. But I will say overall, like I said, it was another valiant effort, kind of similar to Guatemala in that sense. Super competitive. They did get 4 points, which that might be the most points they got in a window. I could be wrong. I have to go back and look at that. Ties. Yeah. So, yeah, overall, I think you got to go into 2030, kind of reset and try to find some new blood, because a lot of these guys, especially your goalkeeper, is getting a little older now. So, yeah, let's move on to Bermuda. Not much to say here. Bermuda, awesome for even making it this far, to making it to round 3 in the World Cup qualifying.
Yes.
This was your World Cup. Look, man, you guys got blown out. I don't know what else to say. I mean, you got 4 goals. You did get a draw this window. No, my bad. Wait, did they? No. I'm thinking the previous window.
Bermuda never got a point.
Yeah, never got a point. I got it mixed up with the previous window. But yeah, I mean, cool for making it this far.
Not much to say. Yeah, dude. Listen, Bermudans, keep charging along, man. I think, like you said, dude, don't give up hope. Obviously, the Gold Cup's not next summer. It's the summer after 2027. Aim for that, Obviously, you want to just keep on growing, and I think that's a national team competition within our federation, dude, that Bermudans could aspire to get to. But, yeah, tough results all around, though, for the Bermuda boys.
Yeah. We'll go to Group C. And the group winner hitting their first World Cup in 50 years. I think it was 1974, so 50 years. Absolutely crazy for Haiti for advancing. Now, this one's a little weird for me. I think out of all the 3 winners, Haiti's the one that probably performed the worst. But the one thing I will give Haiti is that they did what Costa Rica and Honduras couldn't do, and that is handily beat Nicaragua both times. And ultimately, I think that was the deciding factor to them advancing and making it. look, I don't want to take too much away from Haiti, but like I think a lot of this has to go to the fumbling of Honduras and Costa Rica. But like I said, at the end of the day, they got the results they needed. They got the 1-0 victory against Costa Rica, and and then they took care of business against Nicaragua. Like I said, for
Yeah.
whatever reason, Honduras and Costa Rica couldn't do, and ultimately that ended up being the deciding factor, which is crazy to me. That the deciding factor was just getting your 2 victories over Nicaragua. Like it's absolutely wild to say, and also just like Honduras just not going for the game. Like all they needed to do was win, and they were in. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm super excited to see Haiti in the World Cup. I think they're going to be an interesting team to face up again. To face up against, I think a team that a lot of people are going to underestimate and could be a really dangerous team in a counterattack position. I think if they face anybody that's not like that, it's going to be an uphill battle. But look, I don't know how far Haiti's going to make it. We'll talk about that in another video. But look, I had a buddy, one of my good friends is Haitian, and he's like, honestly, I never thought I'd be alive to see Haiti make the World Cup. So, and I'm sure a lot of other Haitians feel that way. So, I think you can't help but feel happy for them that they've even made it, that they made it to the dance.
Julian, you said word for word, bar for bar. I'm happy for you guys. Congratulations. Stop the cap. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not.
No, I
Listen,
am.
listen.
Look, I think it's always
Haitians,
cool to see people try it.
drop your flag. Drop your flag in the comment section. Massive shout out. Congratulations, guys. I can say with you guys, we'll be going to the big dance together. We're invited into the club. Haiti, you guys just got extended. You basically just got free entry into the club right now. You just get a walk on in, man. You got VIP passes. You're good. Come on in. Curacao, Panama. Come on in, man. You guys are good. We'll find out a couple more guys later in March. Whoever else is good to come in the club. Congratulations, man. Like you said, Julian, I'm playing with you. I could hear a little bit in your voice saying that. Sounded a little rubbish, a little bit of
No, I'm serious. I think at the end of the day, look, they deserve to go because they were able to
yeah.
get the results they needed. Was it the best run? No, and I stand by that. I think they had the worst run out of the 3 to make it. But like they did it. I mean, I would have never thought that after that Honduras game in October that they would be advancing, quite honestly. So hey, they got it done.
No, you said something very true. The thing with, and that's obviously separating them, and we'll get to those next 2 teams, catastrophic disasters in a minute. They were both they weren't just only clinical at home, and also, dude, shout out to Haiti. Listen, man, they had no home games. Listen, I understand I don't care if it was a sold out crowd of all these Haitians screaming and going crazy. That's still not the same environment. That's not a home game for Haiti. And to be able to see what they were
Should have
able
went
to
to
do at
Miami.
home, dude.
I stand by that.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, but still. But dude, at the end of the day, they went to Curacao and they took care of business, man. And I mean, like you said it, and I think what really, really put Haiti on the right foot, dude, was to be able to go on the road to San Jose, back all the way in September, and to get that draw. I mean, that Dukins Nazone. Listen, man, you basically were one of the main guys that put your national team into this World Cup. I think Haiti's going to get a lot of more dual nats. I think we're already seeing guys. I saw reports earlier today, dude.
Yeah.
Saint Maximin, and I know Julian. Listen, and I'm with them on this. We're not these advocate guys for all these dual nats and all this and that. But I will say though, if you do have some sort of Haitian blood or Surinamese blood or whatever it is inside of you, I respect that. I like that more, way more than watching Malaysia have 15 Brazilians on the field.
The
or
only
UAE
thing is,
having.
I would think it's absolutely disgusting to take it away from the players who actually made it to the World Cup and strip them of that opportunity. I think that would be
right.
Disgusting if the Haitian Federation allowed that and did that, to take it away from guys who actually bust their ass to get to that spot.
I was going to say, especially like a Dukins Nazone or a Birots, or even like I mean, dude, even like a Johnny Placide, man, a goalkeeper. Like, dude, that's a guy that those guys have to be at the World Cup, and there's no question about it. They should. I don't think the Haitian Federation would do that. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not in
Yeah.
the Haiti FA like that. But yeah, all you like you said, dude, massive congrats, Haiti. You've earned it. You deserved it, and now you're gonna live it up, man. You're in the club. You guys are back in there after 50 years. But yeah, let's move on, dude. Before we get to Costa Rica, we got to talk about the other Category 5 hurricane. That's an absolute disaster. They're atrocious. They're not far from it. They're really bad. Honduras, man.
Yeah.
Julian,
Terrible.
what are your thoughts?
Oh, just awful. I mean, what a god awful window. I mean, just terrible. I don't like Rueda deserves to get his passport stolen after the the disaster class he put on. You lose to Nicaragua 2
Yeah,
nothing. You lose to them 2 nothing in
yeah,
catastrophic fashion, and then you go to Costa Rica and you basically just let Costa Rica walk all over you, and you just park the bus and hope that, specifically in the second half, and hope hope that Guatemala doesn't allow any more goals. They clearly saw the result that was happening and were okay with
yeah,
getting the intercontinental playoffs, which to me
yeah.
is just an absolute travesty. I would be beyond pissed, especially when all they had to do was win the game. That all they needed to do was win by 1 goal, and they get
Yeah.
an automatic bid, and they parked the bus like against a Costa Rica team, which, mind you, all they needed to do was just score 1 goal, and they get that spot. So
Right.
the whole game plan that they did was just absolutely made no sense to me. They were riding in high in October. They got the 4 points. They were on top of the leaderboard or table. I don't know why I said leaderboard. On top of the table in their group, and just an absolute disaster class. 1 point, 1 point after leading the group, and all you needed to do was score 1 goal. Literally,
Yeah.
because even if you score 1 goal against Nicaragua, you advance on goal differential, and they couldn't. They
Mm.
went a full 180 minutes not scoring 1 goal. Because mind you, if they just scored one, they would be sitting in the playoff at minimum. But they couldn't do that. And I think the way that
Yeah.
Rueda handled that team and handled the situation was abysmal and a disgrace. I think that is awful. It's right up there at Piojo to me. Like looking in retrospective of how they handled that and the absolute fumble that they did is it has to be studied.
Yeah. Yeah. I I'm not gonna clown on him just because I know what the feeling's like. And obviously these are World Cup qualifiers. These are some of the biggest games. Not some of these are the biggest games of a lot of these guys' lives. And they will be for some of them their biggest games of their lives because they probably won't ever get a call back to the national team again. Like you said, dude, Honduras, this is and we'll get to Costa Rica in a second. And obviously I want to talk more and I want to really get into Honduras. But at least Costa Rica can say in the past years, we've made a Copa America, we've made World Cups, we've looked competitive in Gold Cups and things like that. When Honduras has yet again, for another big tournament, failed to qualify or to do anything. Gold Cups, they've been abysmal. And I don't want to hear the Honduranians in the comments right now talking about, well, this past
Hondurans.
summer we made the semifinal and blah, 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 and all this and that. I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear them talking about this and that. You got beat 6-0 in your first game. And to see this just abysmal downfall, and it's been going on now for quite some time, dude. It's not just only been this, last couple seasons, past couple years, and the last couple cycles. It's been going on. It almost feels like since January the 2018 cycle when they failed to qualify in that intercontinental. It just kind of seemed like everything just started going downhill from there. And this team really has not been able. They've had lapses of moments where they look better, they look solid. But listen, dude, Justin Arboleda, Jerry Bankston, and I'm going to throw Romo Kyoto in there as well, dude. These guys are not going to win you games. Maybe Kyoto can get you a moment of brilliance and look good, and look well. But that's not
He's
your
not what he
future.
used to be.
He's not what he used to be. His legs are tired. He needs to go home. His grandkids miss him. Justin Arboleda needs to go back to working at a nightclub. He's a bouncer. He's not a soccer player. Ben Gucci is, I don't know what he's doing. I genuinely am
And
confused with the
Luis
guy.
Palma's he's not as good as you think he is. I don't think he's that great. I think the hype was just it's too much. I think he's a solid player. I think he's a solid player, but he's not that generational talent that a lot of people thought he was going to be.
I think that haircut, don't ever do that again, Luis Palma.
Cornrows.
That was interesting. I don't know what that was, but yeah, listen, it is genuinely, it is sad because, like you said, this was a team that they had control in their hands. They had dynasty facing them right in the face, dude. I'm talking about they were up. They made all the way through the line. They were able to cut some people to get into the club. They were talking to some people in the line, a couple different celebs, and people were like, yeah, I know you, man. I know you. They got up to the front of the line. And they looked at the bouncer, and the bouncer punched them in the face and said, "Get the hell out of my line." So this was a very, very just disappointing, like you said, overall November window, atrocious. I think I'll end it on this one, dude, because you can only say so much negative, and obviously we will save so many more other videos to talk about not only this, but all the good CONCACAF fun that we had this past November and upcoming. But Hondurans have to be looking at
Hondurans. No, Hondurans. It's not Honduranians. It's not Honduranians.
It is Honduranians.
It's
yes, it
Hondurans.
is. Yes, it is.
A Honduran actually said that. Why are you saying Honduranian?
One of my best friends is Catracho. And
you're blending English and Spanish. It's the Hondureños, but you're adding it Indian to
it. You don't even speak Spanish.
It's Honduran, and I do speak Spanish. It's Honduran in English. I promise you.
It is not. No, it is not. No, it is not. No, it is not. Anyways, los Catrachos, guys. This was obviously it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot more than a coaching change. I think you're going to have to really look yourself in the mirror, and really find out what else is going on. I know there's a lot of FA problems as well within Honduras, so it is atrocious. But nevertheless, to move on from one Category 5 hurricane to the next Category 5 hurricane, you got to go to Costa Rica. And I'm just going to start off here, Julian. Is this the most disappointing and the biggest atrocity in CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers since the United States failed to qualify?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little quick here because I'm short on time. But I want to make a bigger video on this because I think it'd be interesting. But I think this is the biggest failure in CONCACAF history, literally neck and neck with the USA not qualifying in 2018. Maybe even a little bit worse. An absolute disaster class. I think Piojo just ran this team to the ground. They got worse. You come out only one victory in 7 games. It's just inexcusable. And with that one victory becoming against Nicaragua at home, everything, it's despicable to see the talent that this team has to be completely wasted a World Cup cycle for a lot of these guys to experience the World Cup for the first time, to then go into 2030 feeling confident and good and getting those jitters out of the way because they already went. And that's where I feel like it's such a missed opportunity, because while I don't know if 2026 would have been their year to really do anything, but it would have been that year to gain experience, then go into 2030 feeling super confident. And I think Piojo and the Federation and even the players to an extent just failed to deliver. And I tend to blame a lot of the people up top, because getting 1 point in a must 6-point window is a disaster. And then on top of that, all you needed, and ended up, the chips fell your way. Nicaragua beat Honduras, and then Guatemala beat Suriname. Literally all you had to do was score one more goal across the 180 minutes, and you couldn't score a goal in 180 minutes with a team where your best players are in the attack. It's inexcusable. Yeah, Piojo rightfully should never be back in the country again. And quite honestly, I put a big target on the Federation and the president and the way they've handled this whole situation. I think At the end of the day, uh, they're going to have to hit reset. And there's already talks of just restructuring and rebuilding everything from the ground up, from grassroots to the youth. And I think it's time to start looking forward at new guys. Obviously, this is the last rodeo for Kendall Watson and Navas and Borges and all these guys. So yeah, but overall, to keep it into this window, like I said, an absolute disaster. They couldn't break down the Honduran low block. They they couldn't score against a really bad Haitian defense. They couldn't score to save their lives. It's terrible. I think it's an absolute. If you had to grade it anything, it's definitely an F. But I'll kick it off to you.
Yeah, dude, I'll wrap it up real quick, man. You already won up a lot of what I had to say. It's an atrocity. It is horrendous. It is horrific. It is incapable of what Costa Ricans should have been doing. And I sound like Stephen A. Smith right now saying a bunch of massive words, but it is sad. It is very, very sad. I think, like you said, dude, these are some of the lowest moments in Costa Rican football. I think these are
I think it's
some of the
the
saddest
lowest.
moments.
I think it's the
The
lowest.
lowest, yeah. I'm trying to be a little bit nice, but Julian's going to keep it flat out. It is the lowest moments in the history of the Costa Rican FA. I think, like you said, dude, and I'm glad you mentioned their names: Kendall Watson, obviously Celso Borges, Keylor Navas, guys like that. To go out like this, legends, because they are legends in not just Central American football, but in Concacaf football. They are some of the biggest names to ever play, and to go out like that, very just like and Julian, you said Costa Rica seemed like they were on the front foot. Maybe that first half, but that second half, both teams seemed like they just gave up, and that just looked so sad to see how Costa Rican had no push, no desire. You could just tell the fans were just so disappointed.
I don't know if I
And
agree with that, but to me they lacked the technical ability to score in that final third. They just couldn't for
the
whatever
only
reason.
guy that I saw trying to create anything was a Josimar Alcocer. Everybody else seemed like they just gave up, and it just never seemed like enough. And Piojo, I will agree with you, has no help at all for this. He was the mastermind of this atomic bomb, so he didn't help at all,
He's a lot
and
to
it
blame.
really,
I
really,
think he's a lot to
yeah,
blame, and the Federation wanted to fire
yeah,
him but didn't, and it's a whole thing. Like I said, we can get into another video. I think it's really interesting, but
yeah.
we can move on to the final team, and we can end it there. And that is Nicaragua. And look, man, overall, I'm gonna say not a bad window. You got your first victory. You got to win. You beat Honduras, the group leader. You basically knocked them out of the tournament and from advancing. Obviously, they couldn't get anything done against Haiti. It would have been great if they did, but yeah, uh, they got beat by Haiti. But I think the fact that they got a win, considering a Nicaragua team that you expected to get 0 points this window, and the team that they beating him 2-0, that's impressive to me. I think that win alone makes me think it's for their standards pretty decent. Obviously, they have a long way to go before they're even competitive of competing for that automatic bid. But overall, I think a decent window. You got a big win. You got to win. You didn't leave the tournament with a donut. So I'll give them that.
Yeah. Nicaragua was better than El Salvador, so they were not the worst Central American team in qualifiers. Shout out to them, Pinoleros, man. I think kind of similar to Bermuda. They have to look forward. They have to look ahead. And in Nicaragua's case, they got to win and they got to draw, which essentially that draw against Costa Rica really, really, really hurt the Costa Ricans a lot. So, yeah, I think Nicaragua, incredible November window. You picked up a huge win at home and you're moving forward, man. That's all you can ask for with these guys. So keep the head held up high. But Julian, I'll wrap it here. Listen, the Caribbean is getting better and better and better. And every single day that goes by, not only in this World Cup qualifier, but that's going to continue. What worries me, not only as a Panamanian, but as a Central American and somebody that loves CONCACAF ball day in and day out, the Caribbean's not going to get worse. They're just going to get better.
There's teams that didn't make it that are getting better. I mean, imagine a DR in this tournament,
yeah,
or Puerto Rico,
right.
who, if they would have advanced, which I would have liked to see Puerto Rico more than I would have seen El Salvador, and that's not just me being biased, but I think they would have put up more of a fight. and Cuba. I mean, I think, like you said, they're getting better. I think
Yeah.
overall, it's crazy to think. It's even crazy to think that Bermuda made it like over some of these other Caribbean nations that you could
Yeah.
arguably say
Yeah.
are a good amount better. But yeah,
Yeah.
overall, a crazy World Cup qualifying window. It was super
Yeah.
entertaining. It was fun. It was a lot of heartbreak, a lot of craziness, a lot of unexpected stuff. But hopefully, we see more of this. I'm curious what the next cycle in 4 years is going to look like. Now that the USA, Mexico, and Canada are going to be back in it, I hope they go back to an open table again. That'd be fun. But yeah, anyways, we will see you guys in the next one when we talk about Intercontinental. And yeah, peace out,
Yep.
everybody.
Peace.